The walls of Godolkin University are trembling, and not because of another prank or superpowered rivalry. No, in episode 9, everything you thought you knew comes crashing down. Lies unravel, secrets explode into the open, and the entire world of Gen V is left hanging by a single thread of truth. This isn't just another twist-filled episode, it's the moment where every hidden agenda, every betrayal, every whisper in the shadows finally takes center stage. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Before we dive into the chaos of episode 9, let's rewind. Because this chapter doesn't hit nearly as hard unless you remember where we've come from. Gen V has been slowly pulling us deeper into the underbelly of Godolkin, peeling away the shiny surface of campus life to reveal something darker, something rotten at its core. The earlier episodes set the stage with rivalries, friendships, and betrayals. But each step forward was also a step closer to uncovering the monster behind the curtain. At first, the show disguised itself as a coming-of-age story soups trying to figure out who they are, how far their powers can go, and what future lies ahead of them. But then came the cracks. The hints of experiments, the glimpses into shady programs, the whispers of the woods. Every character has been carrying baggage, secrets, trauma, and doubts about who they can trust. And as we've moved episode by episode, that baggage has gotten heavier, harder to carry, until finally it begins to spill out in episode 9. Think back to how Marie and her friends were forced to confront not only their own identities, but the system itself. Godolkin wasn't just a school. It was a testing ground. Every hero in training was also a potential weapon, groomed for purposes far more sinister than they imagined. The friendships formed along the way were powerful but fragile, and the betrayals cut deep. Characters who seemed like allies revealed their own motives. And those motives weren't always noble. The previous episode left us dangling with tension. Questions were screaming for answers. Who can actually be trusted? What's really happening in those secret labs? And why does it feel like the entire system from Vought to Godolkin is one giant lie? Episode 8 dropped enough bombs to make us suspect the truth, but episode 9? That's where the fuse finally hits the powder, and this is why the build-up matters. Every little mystery, every side glance, every offhand remark, it all threads together here. Without this foundation, episode 9 would just be shocking. But because we've seen how carefully everything has been layered, when the truth finally explodes, it feels earned. It feels terrifying. It feels like we're not just watching characters find out secrets, we're living them with them. So, as we step into this breakdown of episode 9, remember the journey so far. The slow burn of tension, the illusions of safety, the trust that was built only to be broken. Because now, the gloves are off. And the truth? The truth cuts sharper than any superpowered blade. The heart of episode 9 is not just in the secrets themselves, but in how those secrets erupt into conflict. It's the moment where hidden truths finally collide with raw emotions, and suddenly the entire cast is forced to choose sides. This isn't the small rivalries we saw in the beginning, this is war. Not with armies or soldiers, but with friends, allies, and enemies all bleeding into one another until you can't tell who's who anymore. From the very first scene, tension buzzes like static electricity. The students at Godolkin are no longer just worried about grades, rankings, or popularity. They're staring down the terrifying reality that their school is a front. Their powers are experiments, and their futures are being written for them by Vought, whether they like it or not. It's a betrayal so large that it fractures the ground beneath every relationship. Characters who once laughed together in dorm rooms now glare at each other with suspicion. Every word, every action feels heavy with double meaning because no one knows who has been telling the truth and who has been hiding the knife behind their back. The woods becomes the symbolic and literal battleground for this conflict. It's the dark secret that has been looming over the entire season, and in episode 9, it can no longer stay in the shadows. The revelations about what happens there, the experiments, the lies, the manipulation of supes who thought they were special, but were really just lab rats, set fire to everything. Once this truth is out, no amount of denial can push it back underground. Everyone reacts differently, some with anger, some with fear, and some with cold. ruthless determination to protect their own survival at any cost. But the conflict isn't just about exposing the system. It's about personal betrayals, too. Think about how trust has been chipped away between friends. One character's silence, another's half-truth, another's desperate attempt to protect someone they love, it all comes crashing down now. What used to feel like small cracks in their friendship suddenly splits wide open into gaping wounds. And in this episode, wounds don't just bleed, they shape destinies. The brilliance of this conflict lies in how layered it is. On the surface, it's about young supes taking on a corrupt system, fighting for justice, and finally standing up to Vought. But beneath that, it's about identity. Who are they when the masks are stripped away? Who are they when they realize their powers were never gifts, but tools manufactured in secret? And who can they be when the people they once called family turn out to be strangers wearing familiar faces? The confrontation scenes are thick with emotion. Anger spills out in heated words, powers flare uncontrollably, and fear grips every decision. Some characters push forward with courage, determined to expose everything, no matter the cost. Others shrink back, terrified of what the truth means for them, and some reveal a darker side, seizing the chaos as an opportunity to grab power for themselves. The conflict is no longer good versus evil, it's chaos versus control. Truth versus lies, survival versus morality. And the most terrifying part? There is no clear line. No easy answer. Everyone is compromised, everyone is tainted, everyone is guilty of something. That's what makes this episode so powerful. The realization that heroes and villains aren't separated by costumes or catchphrases. They're all human underneath, messy and flawed. And when the stakes are this high, humanity is more dangerous than any superpower. By the time the dust settles on the main conflict of Episode 9, the characters are no longer students, they're soldiers, whether they wanted to be or not. And the war they've stumbled into is one that will not just define them, but could reshape the entire world of supes forever. This is not just a fight for survival. It's a fight for identity, for freedom, for truth itself. And in Gen V, truth is the deadliest weapon of all. The moment the doors to the truth swing open, the air changes. Episode 9 doesn't just show secrets, it detonates them. The lies we have sensed since the first day at Godolkin finally line up, and the picture is brutal. The school's golden image is a mask, the rankings are a leash, and the scholarships and brand deals are bait. Behind every smiling poster is a file, behind every file is a test, and behind every test is a choice someone else made for these kids long before they could speak. That is the first cut. Realizing the path was never theirs, then comes the revelation about how the best and brightest were selected. Not by talent alone, not by heart, not even by control. Selection was data-driven manipulation. Those polished highlight reels, edited. Those random opportunities, placed with a careful hand. Episode 9 lays out the pipeline like a cold diagram. Recruit, observe, push, break, rebuild. Each student is a track on a board, color-coded and tagged for a future they never chose. It hits like a punch to the chest because it tells them what they most fear. You were never free. The woods, long whispered as rumor, steps into the light with receipts. We learn it wasn't built to help troubled supes, it was built to shape outcomes. Calm the ones who ask too many questions, amplify the ones who sell well, bury the ones who don't fit the story. The word treatment becomes a wound. The soundproof walls, the timed lights, the clipped voices saying, "For your good," every detail returns with new meaning. In Episode 9, those memories stop being nightmares and become evidence. The worst part is not what happened in there. It's how normal it all looks on paper. The next secret is personal and it stings deepest. The trusted mentor who always had the right advice. The dean who seemed to listen. The handler who promised to keep them safe. Each one is tied to a chain. The script lifts the curtain on emails, silent approvals, and signatures done with steady hands. No shouting, no cackling villainy, just quiet consent. That's why it hurts. Evil is not loud here. It is polite, professional, and on time for meetings. The betrayal lands because it is practical. It is routine. It wears a smile. Another truth hits like a falling elevator. Some powers did not simply develop, they were pushed, tuned, paired with fear to force growth. The episode shows how moments of panic were engineered. A fire drill that wasn't a drill, a fight that wasn't random, a crisis that was planted to see who would break and who would bloom. It makes every past victory wobble. Did they win or were they steered? Did they save someone or did a metric hit a target? This reveal is a mirror none of them want to hold, because behind their proudest moments is a script they never saw. Relationships take a blow under the weight of the truth. The episode exposes small lies that seemed harmless at first omitted calls. Deleted texts, a don't tell anyone favor that now reads like a red flag. Friends learn that protection sometimes look like silence, and silence sometimes look like permission. You can feel hearts snapping in the spaces between words. The show doesn't need a big breakup scene. It lets the knowledge do the damage. Trust doesn't explode here. It drains out slowly. A quiet flood that leaves everyone standing on wet ground. Then there's the public face, the promises posted on feeds, the charity drives, the mentor programs filmed for prime time. Episode 9 plays them back to back against raw footage, and the contrast is savage. You see the hashtag campaigns lined up with budget lines. You hear "we care," and then you read "mitigate liability." The message is clear. Image is a product. Care is a currency. The students finally understand why their pain was always neatly framed. Suffering was content. Healing was branding. The camera was never a friend. It was a contract. The heaviest secret, though, is not a file or a video. It is the idea at the core of this world. Power without choice is not power. The episode threads this through every reveal. If your wins are engineered, if your fears are harvested, if your path is managed from above, then your strength is a costume held together by other people's pins. That realization shreds the old labels: hero, villain, leader, follower. The students are not categories. They are stories that were edited. And now they want the raw cut back. By the end of this gauntlet of truths, the floor of the season shifts. The students see the map, the needles, the levers, and the hands that pull them. Some break, some burn, some go very, very still. Choices sharpen into blades. Do they expose the system and risk becoming the next cautionary tale? Do they play along and try to survive another day? Or do they do the most dangerous thing of all, rewrite the rules in front of everyone? Episode 9 does not beg for shock. It gives clarity. And clarity is the kind of weapon you can't put down. One more secret remains like a whisper in a loud room. The truth is not the end of the story. It is the start of the bill. Once you know, you owe. You owe the ones who were silenced, the ones who were erased, the version of yourself you might have been. That weight is what Episode 9 places on their shoulders as the lights dim. The secrets are out. The lies are naked. And the world is watching to see what they do with the truth that finally belongs to them. Asterisk secrets don't just change the story, they change the people inside it. In Episode 9, the truths that come spilling out don't stay neat inside files or whispered confessions. They explode into the characters' lives, forcing them to confront everything they've tried to hide, everything they've ignored, and everything they thought was uncheckable. This is where the show moves beyond mystery and into pure human drama, where the cost of truth is measured in broken friendships, shattered trust, and fragile hearts that may never heal the same way again. The fallout begins almost instantly. The strongest characters, those who have always looked like leaders, find themselves trembling. Their carefully built confidence was never about who they truly were, but who they thought the world wanted them to be. Now, with the curtain ripped away, they stand exposed. For some, that exposure brings shame, the realization that their victories were scripted, their greatness manufactured. For others, it sparks anger, a defiance so fierce it borders on reckless, as though destroying everything around them might help them reclaim a piece of themselves. Marie, who has carried the burden of leadership without ever asking for it, is perhaps hit hardest. She built her identity on survival, on being stronger than her pain, on trusting that she could turn her trauma into something meaningful. But the truth claws at her. If her path was engineered, if even her power was shaped by manipulation, then who is she really? The weight of that question presses on her in every moment. She doesn't crumble, but she cracks small fractures in her voice, her decisions, her silence. She has never felt more powerful, and at the same time, never felt more hollow. Other characters respond in opposite ways. One takes the revelations as liberation, as proof that nothing matters and therefore everything is possible. Their arc twists toward chaos, not despair. They lean into betrayal, into selfishness, into vengeance, because for them, the truth is not a chain, it's an excuse. Watching that descent is chilling because it's believable. When your world is burned down, some choose to plant seeds in the ashes. Others dance in the fire, and then there are the bonds, the friendships and romances that once felt unbreakable. Episode 9 tears them open with surgical precision. A friend's lie, once excused as just trying to help, now reeks of complicity. A lover's secret, hidden under the excuse of protection, now looks like manipulation. These aren't cinematic breakups or dramatic screaming matches. They are quieter, sadder, a look that lingers too long. A silence that stretches wider than words. The show understands that the deepest pain isn't always shouted. It's the moment when you realize someone you trusted has been standing on the other side of the line. The whole time, the emotional fallout doesn't stop at betrayal. It seeps into identity itself. Some characters spiral into self-doubt, questioning whether they are heroes at all. Others harden into stone, vowing never to be vulnerable again. The episode uses these reactions to show how truth is never neutral. It either rebuilds you or breaks you. And sometimes it does both at once. One character's grief becomes fuel for rebellion. Another's anger becomes a shield. Another's guilt becomes a prison. Each arc feels like a different response to the same wound, and together, they paint a portrait of a generation scarred by lies. There's also a collective fallout. The group as a whole is fractured. The unity they fought for earlier in the season dissolves under the weight of suspicion. When secrets flood the room, even the most loyal allies hesitate. Do they share everything they know? Or do they hold back, afraid of being judged, afraid of being abandoned? This uncertainty lingers in every exchange, making even teamwork feel dangerous. The emotional weight is relentless, but it's also what gives Episode 9 its power. Without it, the secrets would just be shocking plot points. With it, they feel like earthquakes in the lives of characters we've come to care about. The pain is raw, the fallout is messy, and the scars will stretch into the finale. By the time the episode closes, no one is untouched. Every character has been forced to shed an illusion, and the fallout leaves them standing in the rubble of who they thought they were. This section of the story is not about powers, not about battles, not even about the grand conspiracy. It's about people young, flawed, desperate people facing the cost of truth. And it's that emotional wreckage that makes Episode 9 unforgettable. Because the hardest part of uncovering secrets is not seeing the truth. It's living with it. Asterisk, when Episode 9 fades to black, it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like the moment right before the storm, that fragile silence when the air grows heavy, the ground vibrates, and you know lightning is about to strike. This episode is not just about revelations, it is about setting the chessboard for the endgame. Every secret exposed, every friendship shattered, every betrayal unearthed is not just fallout, it's fuel. It's kindling stacked neatly for the inferno waiting in the finale. And the brilliance of Episode 9 lies in how it threads those sparks of foreshadowing into every scene, making the audience lean forward, hungry for what comes next. The first thread is the most obvious. War is coming. Not a quiet struggle in the shadows, but an open clash that cannot be ignored. The students who once believed Godolkin was a sanctuary now see it as a battlefield. The very halls where they once trained feel like traps, every classroom a cell, every ranking board a tool of control. When the curtain lifts and they realize how deep the system runs, there's only one logical path forward: rebellion. The finale will not be about surviving another class or climbing another ladder. It will be about tearing down the entire structure before it swallows them whole. But Episode 9 doesn't promise an easy rebellion. Instead, it foreshadows fractures within the resistance itself. We see it in the quiet glances, in the sharp words exchanged between characters who no longer trust each other. The seeds of division are planted deep. Some want to burn everything down no matter the cost, while others still hope to salvage something from the wreckage. This split is crucial because it hints at what's to come. The finale won't just pit students against Vought. It will pit friends against friends, ideologies against ideologies, survival against morality. And the question becomes, which side will each character choose when the stakes finally snap? Another foreshadowing lies in the imagery of power itself. Episode 9 shows us powers breaking free in uncontrolled bursts, triggered not by training but by raw emotion. These glimpses hint that the finale won't be a clean fight fought with practiced control. It will be messy, chaotic, and devastating. The show is telling us that when truth breaks the dam, so do the powers. Expect the finale to be a storm of violence where restraint has no place and the collateral damage will be impossible to ignore. Then there's the haunting question of exposure. The characters now know the truth, but the world outside Godolkin doesn't. Episode 9 plants hints that this wall of secrecy won't hold. Someone is going to break ranks. Someone is going to leak the truth, whether intentionally or by accident. The foreshadowing is subtle mentions of cameras, eyes watching, files left unsecured, but it lingers like a ticking clock. The finale may not just be a fight inside the school. It may be a revelation broadcast far beyond its walls, one that changes the way the world sees supes forever, and layered over all of this is the shadow of Vought. Episode 9 makes it clear that the corporation is not blind, not powerless, and not about to let the narrative slip out of its grip. The foreshadowing is sharp. A phone call unanswered, a report sent to the higher-ups, a name quietly removed from the system. These small details whisper that the finale won't just be about what the students do. It will be about how Vought responds. And if history tells us anything, Vought doesn't fight fair. The finale promises not just confrontation, but retaliation, a strike that could crush more than just a handful of rebellious students. The emotional foreshadowing is just as strong. Episode 9 lingers on moments of hesitation, guilt, and longing that point to future sacrifices. The way one character's eyes linger too long on another, for turning away, suggests that someone will not survive the finale, and the survivor will carry that weight. The way another character hardens their tone, cutting off vulnerability, signals that they may cross a line they can never come back from. These are not just random beats, they are promises. Promises that the finale will demand blood, whether physical, emotional, or both. And then there is the biggest foreshadowing of all, identity. The theme that has run through Gen 5 since the beginning now looms larger than ever. Who are these young supes when everything else is stripped away, when the lies are gone, when the system is exposed, when they stand on their own? Episode 9 sets the stage for the finale to answer that question, not with words, but with choices. Every decision in the finale will carve their identities in stone: hero, villain, or something far more complicated. By the time episode 9 ends, the audience doesn't need a flashing sign saying the finale will be big. They can feel it. The pieces are in motion, the fuse is lit, and the echoes of what's to come reverberate through every frame. The foreshadowing doesn't just hint at a climax, it guarantees one. The only uncertainty is how much will burn, who will fall, and whether anything will be left standing when the truth collides with power. In the final chapter, this is why episode 9 works not only as a climax of secrets, but as the overture to a finale that promises to be devastating. The truth has been revealed, but the reckoning has only just begun. And as the credits roll, one thought dominates. If this was the whole truth, then the finale must be the whole consequence. Asterisk, when the screen fades in episode 9 finally lets us breathe. It doesn't feel like a neat conclusion. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, wind tearing at your clothes, knowing there is no way back. This is where the story pauses, not because it's done, but because it wants us to sit in the silence, in the rubble of secrets that can't be stuffed back into the dark. And it's here, in this silence, that the weight of the episode lingers. Closing the breakdown means not just recounting events, but living in their aftershock. and inviting the audience to stand in the same trembling ground with the characters. The first thing to confront is finality, or rather the lack of it. Episode 9 makes no promises of clean resolution. Every character ends the episode fractured, every alliance bent to breaking, every lie replaced with a truth too sharp to ignore. There is no reset button, no moment of comfort, and that's exactly why the episode resonates. The closing feeling is one of raw vulnerability. The young supes we followed are not victorious heroes. They are not tragic martyrs either. They are survivors, bruised and bloodied, staring into an uncertain tomorrow. And that's what keeps us glued, but what does this mean for us, the viewers? The episode's closing moments push us to think beyond the spectacle. Gen V has always worn a mask of satire and shock value, but beneath it, Episode 9 whispers questions too heavy to ignore. What does it mean to grow up in a world where every choice is shaped by someone else's agenda? What does power even mean if it's controlled by corporations, hidden labs, and secret files? These aren't just character questions, they are reflections. They force the audience to look inward and outward at the systems that shape real lives. The institutions that manufacture heroes and villains not in comic books, but in our headlines. The closing beats of the episode are also laced with intimacy. We get those lingering shots, the unspoken looks, the cracks in voices that tell us everything words can't, a hand that doesn't reach out, a door that closes too quietly, a silence heavy with unsaid apologies. These details matter because they remind us that beneath the powers, beneath the conspiracies, these characters are human. Their pain is familiar. Their mistakes are ours. And their longing for freedom is universal. That's why the emotional pull is so strong. It's not just about what happens in the finale. It's about what it means for each of them to carry this truth forward. As the breakdown closes, the responsibility shifts. Not just for the characters, but for us as an audience. The episode throws the ball into our court with its revelations. Do we sympathize with those who choose revenge? Do we condemn those who stay silent to survive? Do we cheer for the ones who want to burn the system down? Or do we fear what happens when the fire spreads too far? Episode 9 refuses to answer these questions for us. Instead, it leaves us holding them, forced to decide where we stand. That's the genius of the writing. It makes us complicit. We aren't just watchers. We are participants, and then comes the invitation. The call that every great breakdown must leave echoing in its final seconds. What now? What's next? What would you do? This isn't a cheap cliffhanger. It's a deliberate hand extended to the audience, pulling them into the narrative. By the time the credits roll, viewers are not just waiting for the finale, they are debating it, dissecting it, predicting it. And that is where the show's power lies. In turning speculation into obsession. So as we close this breakdown, it's not about neat answers. It's about carrying the questions with us. Who will betray whom in the finale? Who will sacrifice themselves for the truth? Who will seize power and who will be crushed beneath it? Will the world learn what Godolkin really is, or will Vought bury the truth under another mountain of lies? These are not just story threads. They are open wounds waiting for the finale to decide whether they scar or bleed. And finally, there's the engagement, because this is not just a story told to us, it's a story told with us. The best way to close this breakdown is not with certainty, but with community. So let's turn to you. What did you think of Episode 9? Which reveal shocked you the most? Do you believe the finale will redeem anyone, or will it consume them all? Drop your theories, your anger, your heartbreak in the comments. Because if this breakdown has shown anything, it's that truth isn't held by one voice. It's built by all of us, piece by piece, scream by scream. Until the final moment lands, the curtain has fallen on Episode 9, but the story has not ended. It's only sharpened. The truth has been revealed, but the consequence has yet to arrive. And when it does, it will not be kind. So brace yourself. The finale isn't just coming, it's already here, waiting to tear down everything you thought you knew. The only question left is, are you ready to face it? The dust of Episode 9 still hangs in the air, but we can already feel the ground shaking beneath our feet. This chapter wasn't just about exposing lies, it was about burning away every illusion that held these characters together. What's left is fragile, dangerous, and alive with possibility. The finale is no longer just an episode to look forward to, it's a reckoning waiting to happen. One that will decide not only who survives, but who they become in the ashes of everything revealed. That's why now, more than ever, the story belongs to us too. These breakdowns aren't just recaps, they're conversations. Every reveal, every betrayal, every scar left on these characters resonates because we've lived through them with them. And as the show edges closer to its final strike, our role as the audience sharpens. We speculate, we argue. We feel the tension as though we're right there in Godolkin's halls, choosing sides in a battle no one can escape. So here's the question I'll leave with you. What does truth mean in a world built on lies? Is it salvation or is it the spark that burns everything down? Tell me your theories. Tell me your fears. Which character do you believe will pay the highest price in the finale? And who, if anyone, do you think can walk away from the wreckage with their soul still intact? This is the power of episode 9. It doesn't just ask us to watch, it demands that we respond. And now, the story waits for us to weigh in. If you felt the weight of these secrets, if you're bracing yourself for the final chapter, make sure you're part of the conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments like this breakdown if it sparked your own questions. And subscribe so you're here when we dive into the finale. Because if episode 9 revealed the whole truth, then episode 10 will deliver the whole consequence and you won't want to miss it. The truth is out. The war is near. And together we'll face the end.